Peace be out, family. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. I know this is the 4th of July weekend, so I know a lot of people are going to be off. But in this video on today's live stream, we're going to be talking about the 1980 Liberian coup d'etat. And I'm going to be explaining, some of the events that led to it, the aftermath, the effects, and how this has been used to portray Black Americans in a negative light and, really to debunk this. Some disclaimers is I do have a lot of background information on this. I may not solely know everything. There might be a little things missing here and there. I'm going to give my take on it. I'm going to give all the resources, information that I have. These are some of the resources that I have, but there are a lot more. You can do more research about this. But I'm going to be giving you, the overview of it, and then we can go further into that. So I'll give a minute or two for people to come in. All right, fam, it's about approaching that minute. So in today's video, I'm going to be explaining the 1980 Liberian coup. So the 1980 Liberian coup was probably one of the most influential coups in all of African history. It's the most important coup in Liberian history. It happened on April 12th, 1980, in which Samuel Doe, who was a major general at the time, who was from the Kron tribe, he assassinated William Tolbert in his sleep, and that was the president before. So William Tolbert had been ruling from 1971 until that fateful day on April 12th, 1980. Eventually, later on that day, 13 of his members were taken. They were, tied around on a pole, and then they were killed. And I actually have a video on that I want to show y'all if I can. But it's gonna go a little bit into the intro about it. So, give me a minute, and I will show you this video. I'm just gonna show you the beginning. I'm not gonna show you all of it. So let me share my screen real quick, and here is a little bit of it. Let me show a little bit of it right here. So you should be able to see my screen. So here is some of it. I'm going to go further into it.
In April 1980, a tragedy unfolded in my country, the small West African nation of Liberia. People had come to celebrate a military coup against their government and the cold-blooded murder of their president. They watched as 13 former cabinet members were stripped, tied to poles, and executed. It was hard to believe in that moment that Liberia was Africa's oldest republic, founded 133 years before on the promise of peace and freedom for the American blacks who settled here during the time of slavery. But now the peace had ended, and there was worse, much worse to come.
All right, so that was the intro of Liberia's America's Stepchild, and I wanted to show that particular scene where, like I said, they were, brought on that beach. There's no memorial, there's no nothing, although the family has tried to make, a memorial on that, beach where the 13 members were, strung up and they were tied up to a pole and they were all executed. So after that fateful day, and it included somebody who was, vital to Liberia. Another example of the person that was killed, I think was a person by the name of Cecil Dennis. And Cecil Dennis was the it was Cecil. Well, he was killed 10 days later. It was Cecil Dennis. He was the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Liberia. And he also worked under the Tobert administration, and he was under the True Whig Party. And he, also, died just 10 days after the coup had happened. So there are a lot of, things that people say about, what led to the coup. So I'm going to talk about what led up to the coup, because a lot of people just say, oh, it was the Americo-Liberians, doing all this crazy stuff. And they were just super oppressive, like apartheid South Africa, which is not even remotely true. And then that's what basically led to the coup, the indigenous people rising up. It's actually a lot more nuanced. So I'm going to share my screen again. And, I'm going to show you a poll that was done. So there was a poll that was done in, about this. So it was Liberia's root causes of the Civil War. And you can get this at peacebuildingdata.org. And there are various explanations for the outbreak of the Civil War. Liberian scholars offered a range of explanations for the years of the conflict, including ethnic divisions, predatory elites who abuse power, corrupt political system, and economic disparities. So we see right here that it's not just the Americo-Liberians and the indigenous Liberians as people like to make it out to be. There are a lot more issues at hand, because one of the things that people do not talk about is there were a lot of Liberians who were natives that were part of the True Whig Party. An example would be, and I'm about to bring up this person. His name was Henry II Wesley. He was a Liberian lawyer who was the first indigenous vice president, and he was a member of the Grebo ethnic group. And he was the Liberia's first indigenous vice president. He was born in Maryland County, and he served as vice president from 1924 to 1928. That was during the time of Charles D.B. King. And that was the time where there was a lot of forced labor of indigenous people, as people like to, with the Fernando Post situation, as people like to claim about. Although that was really more of a hit piece on Liberia. We have the Christie reports to verify that slavery was not being practiced. But that was a hit piece by colonial, powers to try to see if they could, take over Liberia. But let's continue on. It says the Truth and Reconciliation Commission found that the underlying those proximate causes, the seeds of conflict, were sown by the historical divisions, sown by the historical decision to establish Liberia as a state divided between natives and settlers, in the use of forms to sustain settlers' hegemony. And it says right here, root causes of the war. And you see right here, it goes by county. It goes Bomi, Bong, all the Barpalu, Grand Bassa, Grand Cape Mount, Grand Jita, Grand Coup, Lofa, Montgibby, Maryland, Greater Monrovia, although Monrovia is not its own county, Nimba, River G, River Cess, Rural Montserrato, and Sino, and then, that's what's. So it says root causes of the war. Greed ranked number one for the most part. So Bomi was 57%, Bong 60%, Barpalu 71%, Grand Bassa 71%, Lofa 62%, Identity Tribal 30% in Bomi, but it goes to 26% in Maryland, 25% in River G, and the highest was 52%, and that was in Montgibby County. Poverty was lowest in Grand Jita at 20%, and the highest of the poverty was 37%, and that was through Grand Bassa. And these are some of the, he said, groups and individuals at the root cause of the war. I want you to see who most people blame. So Charles Taylor, Prince Johnson's INPFL. So the INPFL stands for the Independent National Patriotic Front Liberia. You have Ulimo, you had LERD, you have the NPLF, the model, Samuel Doe, AFL, the Armed Forces of Liberia, Kron, Geo, and Mendingo. So these are some of the majors. The top one you see right here is Charles Taylor, and it's in that order. We see that most hard people blame Charles Taylor for the war and Prince Johnson's INPFL. And I was going to do a video on this. I'm going to do a video later on this, but it's going to be on the economic, the War Economic Court. That's what it is. It may not have sounded right. I'm going to have to, let me see if I saw that right. It's not that. Liberia's Economic, War Court is what it's called. Oh, the War and Economic Crimes Court. That's what it's called. I will have to do a video on that. So we see that it says Liberians identify greed and corruption most frequently as the cause of the conflict, 63%. Another 40% mention identity and tribal divisions, while less than 1/3 of adults Liberians mentioned poverty, 30%, and inequalities, 27%. Nearly 1 in 5 said that they did not know the root cause of the conflict and few mentioned land issues, 3%, or food issues, 1%. The results on the direct causes of violence perceived by the population may not highlight structural deficiencies that allow greed, corruption, or inequalities to exist and eventually lead to the conflict. But nevertheless, they suggested the conflict results from partly elites' behavior. Okay, and elites were not just Americo-Liberians. That's the point that we need to debunk. That were not just elites strictly in the Americo-Liberian. You had Grebo elites, you had Pele elites, you had Kron elites, you had Crew elites. These were all elites that played a factor. So it was not just strictly, Americo-Liberians that people like to make it seem. Yes. So he says Liberia's the Jabari is the title of the documentary Liberia, America's Stepchild Problematic. Please talk about how words and phrases have power and convey mental imagery. Yes, it is partially problematic because a lot of people refer to Liberia as being sort of a little America. And the problem with that is it makes it seem like we want to be America, or yes, we may be Black Americans, and yes, our culture is heavily influenced by American culture. But at the same time, African Americans have African, culture within them. African American vernacular English, Gullah Geechee. There was a thing even called Negro Dutch. You had, Seminole language. All of this stuff were rooted in African, syntax, like Wolof, like Gola, which is one of the tribes in Liberia. You had, Mende. These are all stuff that factored in. So I understand people see Liberia as being America's, a sort of a product of America, the American government that officially got the land. But however, Liberia is in and of itself. It has, plenty of ethnic groups. It has its own script, the Bai script, the Loma syllabary, Grebo, Geo, although some people don't like the word Geo, some people like to use the word Dan. You have Bele, you have all of these different, things that make us unique. Liberia is a microcosm of Black America, similar to Sierra Leone with the Sierra Leonean Creole people. All of this stuff plays a factor. So yes, Liberia was, in part by America, but it was America did it because it started by Black people. Before Robert Finley established the American Colonization Society, he got in contact with a man by the name of Paul Cuffey. And I did this on my YouTube channel. It's talking about debunking, African Americans and Liberian history. So yes, it is probably problematic because, when you strip us of our individuals, like, yes, Liberia has a lot of things that are American. Maryland County, Virginia, Mississippi they have a lot of Americanized things. But Liberia does have its own, indigenous languages and cultures. He says, my understanding is that there were intermarried anyhow, as in there wasn't a pure Americo-Liberian, only people that could trace their lineage back to diaspora repatriates. And that partially is true. There are very few pure Americo-Liberians. A lot of Americo-Liberians, people bring up Charles Taylor being an African-American. Charles Taylor had an Americo-Liberian father and a Gola mother. So Charles D.B. King was not fully an African American. He was a Creole person in America, Liberian. In Sierra Leone, Creoles included people, the Jamaican Maroons. It included people from the Caribbean. It included recaptured African slaves, similar to how Liberia, America, Liberian, and Congo are not the same thing. America, Liberian deals with specifically people from the America and also the Caribbean to a certain degree. Congo specifically referred to African recaptive slaves. So an example would be Igbo and Dahomean slaves that were supposed to be slaves in the New World or the Americas, the Caribbean, what we now call it. And the ships were, captured and they were taken back to Liberia, where they were eventually able to be assimilated into. So, that whole America Liberians didn't intermarry a lot like that. That's not true. There's even, a famous, let me see if I can find this on the historical preservation of Liberia, because the historical preservation of Liberia does a great job on this. I really got to show this to y'all. He says, so if I could find the Historical Preservation Society, he talks about Americo-Liberianism, or whatever that means. And basically talking about how Americo-Liberian was really an outsider's term, that most people didn't refer to themselves as Americo-Liberians. But, that's neither here nor there. Hi, Jabari. I was watching Search for Uhuru, a show the other day, and someone said Black people need to be put under dictatorship. What do you think of this settlement? Do we as a people need this? No. I'm not in favor of dictatorship as much. And the reason why I say that is because you have to factor in dictatorships want you to go with a certain ideology or a certain, well, there's two things. Authoritarianism and totalitarianism. You need to make the distinction between the two. Authoritarian governments are governments where the government wants total political control. So there's complete political control, there's hardly any opposition. Media is usually controlled by the people who are ruling. And oftentimes, I understand that people like to bring up Rwanda as an example, like Paul Kagame being, this great leader, and yeah, like he said, people who want to be under dictatorships are what we like to call, how I can say, this, and that's being true, and because you like dictatorship as long as it's your side. When I switched those feet, like Mark Jackson said earlier, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. When you have the gun, it's all cute and funny. When the rabbit got the gun, it ain't cute, it ain't funny no more. So that's why I oppose dictatorship, because if I wouldn't feel comfortable with certain aspects of what a dictatorship is, I don't want to be under a person's dictatorship. Okay. Now, if I'm an immigrant to, like, let's say China or Russia, I'm perfectly okay with that. But our country, no, because we see this all throughout Africa. Dictatorships clinging on to power, refusing to let go of power, and using the military to ruthlessly put it down. We see this with Paul Biya, the president of Equatorial Guinea. He's the richest man. Equatorial Guinea was the richest country in Africa by GDP per capita, yet it has a poor human development index. The many African countries that make less than $2,000 to $3,000 per capita per year. And Equatorial Guinea had a per capita income of $25,000 to $30,000. We're talking about Chile, Poland, Hungary. Okay. Yet they are poor because it's ruled, all that money is in the hands of dictatorship. So, right, it's very problematic. It's very no, you don't want to be under a dictatorship. And like Hollip said, Kagame did what he had to do because you have to understand the situation that happened. Okay, he came from a situation that a genocide just happened against his own people. So you can't put the same lens on his situation because that was different. He wanted to bring stability to the country. So that's the thing, because prior to that, Hutus and Tutsis were going at each other's throats for decades. Once they gained independence, there was conflicts on it for decades. But I want to get back to the causes of the Liberian Civil War, because we need to put some of this stuff to rest. Okay. Respondents were also asked whom they consider responsible or parts of the conflict or parts thereof. 3/4, 76% named groups or individuals, although opinions vary. The most frequent name was Charles Taylor, 45%. Prince Johnson's Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia, like I told y'all, 42%. Ulima, 40%. LUR, 38%. NPFL, 37%, and Model, 29%. 1 in 4 respondents named Nibba County. That's where former President Doe. While only 5% named Doe's home county, Grand Jita, as sharing the responsibility. 3 ethnic groups were mentioned by at least 10% of respondents in some counties. The Kron, 9%, Geo, 8%, Mendingo, 7%, Americo, Liberian, or Congo were only mentioned by 4% of the respondents to be responsible. These results said that the often multi-ethnic military factions receive far more blame for the violent conflicts than the major groups backing them, which allows for some hope regarding the perceived feud among ethnic groups. Okay, so they're squashing this whole Americo-Liberians were responsible for everything. They are squashing this in this piece. They are squashing it with this data. Okay, 8% of the adults of Liberian adults in Nimba and 7% in Grand Jita identified the Kron, was 11% in Grand Jita and 4% in Nimba named the Geo as an ethnic group sharing responsibility for the war. Given the strong differences between both counties' perceptions of President Doe as the root cause of the wars, it's suggested that his government and rule is being considered one of the fighting parties rather than as a representative of the entire Kron, ethnic Kron group. Okay? So this is from peacebuildingdata.org. And back also some further information on the Liberian coup d'etat in 1980. They were originally trying to do it while Tolbert was in Zimbabwe. So Tolbert was supposed to go to Zimbabwe, and they were trying to do it in Zimbabwe. They tried to do it in Zimbabwe, but they couldn't do it in Zimbabwe. So what they were trying to do when Tolbert was basically out of the country, they wanted to seize power, but they never were able to do so. So those are a couple things that I wanted to bring up because, people like to talk about Liberia and disrespect Liberia and talk about all this, chicanery, all of this foolishness. Oh yeah. Let me share my piece again, because I got receipts here. I'm not here to play. I got receipts. Got this right here. So let me further school, these people. So we're getting the details about that. We're trying to do it. I prefer in May because, like I said, I just graduated. I will just be graduating college. Whoop. And I want to give people time to get everything that they need. So that's what we're trying to do. I do have some people who are in Liberia or who have connections in Liberia, so I'll be working on that as well. So the process is ongoing. We are working on it. So, but if you sign up to the website, we will give more information on that later. I'm trying to get everything wrapped up, either by this month or at the very latest September. Like at the very latest, I want stuff done early because I don't like to procrastinate. That's me on that. So we are giving more information on that, and we will keep you updated on that. Let me get back to sharing my screen because I need to share my screen again. Let me go back to the window. This right here. What does this read? U.S. covert and overt operations in Liberia, 1970s to 2003. We have another one. 2 centuries of U.S. military operations in Liberia, challenges of resistance and compliance. I hope y'all can see that. Let me see if y'all can see that. Let me know if y'all can see what I am talking about here. You see this, right? I'm not here, like I said, I'm bringing receipts of what they've done. So this is 381 pages. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to give y'all some, information. Okay, it says right here, Liberia became a foothold of the U.S. government in Africa during the European colonialism, a place from where it could project its interests into other parts of the continent. In 1926, the Firestone Company established one of the world's largest rubber plantations in Liberia as a response to the British rubber monopoly. In the following decades, the U.S. government put in place a number of military facilities such as the deep sea port and airport and numerous military bases and training camps. By the 1970s, Liberia hosted the largest U.S. embassy in Africa with more than 250 American employees, the Voice of America's relay system for Africa, the U.S. Diplomatic Intelligence Communication Relay Station, and one of the 8 antennas of the Omega navigation system, later replaced by the Global Positioning System. The Liberian elite, often referred to as American Liberians, although it's not, like I said before, it's not always American Liberians, people like to associate that, have acted with a combination of compliance and resistance to U.S. influence. The most significant era of compliance and alliance with the U.S. government was that of William Tolbert administration from 1944 to 1971. As a result of the open door policy, this period is often referred to as an era of economic growth and prosperity. However, the policy created wide income gaps between rich and poor, and repressive measures were used to counter any opposition to the government of Liberia through a comprehensive intelligence network connected to the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. That's why, to a certain degree, I do not mess with William B.S. Tubman. He did do economic growth, but he was a brutal dictator. He stamped out dissent. He ruled for 27 years from 1944 to 1971. He did do a lot of great things, but we cannot forget, he was on that dictatorship. I'm not going to deny about that. And when we're talking about, the history of, rich and poor, let's talk about Liberia's history of classism and elitism. This is in the Sleepless in Monrovia.com. I will get to that later, but we're going to continue on to this. When President Tubman died in 1971, his successor, William Tolbert, resumed resistance to U.S. influence in Liberia. Under his leadership, the government of Liberia began to reorientate the economic system from liberal capitalism toward state-led planned economic system focused on food self-sufficiency and industrialization. To gain support for this policy, Tolbert established relations with socialist-oriented countries such as the USSR and the People's Republics of China and Republic of China, USSR's Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. More than 30 state-owned enterprises were established, and the government of Liberia began to set restrictions on the use of U.S. military facilities in Liberia. Concessions agreements with foreign companies were renegotiated, creating serious tensions, particularly with Firestone. Furthermore, the government of Liberia advocated for Pan-African unity against neocolonialism and promoted the declaration on the establishment of a new international economic order adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1974. Tolbert was directly involved in the formulation of the Monrovia Declaration adopted by the Organization of African Unity, meeting held in Liberia in 1979. This declaration led to the influential Lagos Plan of Action for the Economic Development of Africa 1980-2000, which states that the exploitation of Africa continued to be carried out through neo-colonial external forces which seek to influence the economic policies and direction of African states. This report stands in sharp contrast to the World Bank Berg Report published in 1981, which partly marks the beginning of structural justice program in Africa. Listen to this. We're going to get to the meat of it. We're getting to the meat of it. The CIA reacted to Tolbert's policies by supporting Liberia's civil society groups in opposition to the government of Liberia, in particular the Progressive Alliance of Liberians, PAL, headed by Bacchus Matthews, who was in close contact with the CIA. Let's continue on. The PAL often used Marxist rhetoric to denounce the government of Liberia. The most significant event took place after the government of Liberia accelerated the national plan for food self-sufficiency by stimulating local rice production through an increased import tax on foreign-produced rice. The PAL claimed that this was a way to boost the profit of rice importers and promote Tober's own private rice productions. It organized a major demonstration in Monrovia on April 14, 1979, also known as the Rice Riots, which became violent with security forces operating fire on the crowds. The government of Liberia saw this indictment, which became, like I said before, known as the Rice Riots, as the work of foreign powers. A confidential White House memorandum, we get into it, issued about 6 months later, noted that the riot in Monrovia had severely damaged the government in Liberia and that it was unlikely that Tober would survive until the end of his term in 1983. On April 12, 1980, a group of 17 armed men, non-commissioned soldiers in the armed forces of Liberia, entered the executive mansion shortly before midnight and shot President Tober. One of the soldiers, Albert Toe, recalls that after having killed Tober, the coup makers contacted the U.S. Embassy, which endorsed the coup and promised to provide all necessary support. Let me say that one more time. Let me share this video so that people know what was really going on. One of the soldiers, Albert Toe, recalls that after having killed Tober, the coup makers contacted the U.S. Embassy, which endorsed the coup and promised to provide all necessary support. That same morning, the leader of the coup, Samuel Doe, announced on national radio that a military coup had taken place and that a military junta under the name of the People's Redemption Council had taken power under his leadership. Y'all see that, right? Y'all see that. Y'all see what they did. I just had to put that in there. Y'all see what they did? We're gonna go furthermore. Jabari, what entities are responsible for blaming Liberia's past on African Americans, and what are the real intents about the long-lasting, persistent smears? Please delve into this. It was Western propaganda that did this. This was Western propaganda. Liberia was, for the most part, a Pan-Africanist project. We've seen America constantly try to sabotage Liberia. This happened with Garvey. This happened with like I said, with Tolbert. This happened in the 1850s. The U.S. has had a history. Firestone. Are people not aware that Firestone, where Firestone rubber plantations were at, that was where Garvey's site to build our nation or to build a black empire was supposed to happen. The same land that Firestone was using for their rubber plantations was where we were supposed to establish cities and towns by the UNIA, which was led by Garvey and his followers. But I'm going to continue reading on to this because it gets even more real juicy. The U.S. Embassy was instrumental in forming the PRC as a military junta immediately after the coup. All civilian communications were shut down in Liberia, and the American advisors were assigned to Liberian key ministries. U.S. Charge d'Affaires Julius Walker states that U.S. soldiers were deployed in Monrovia and got looters and shooters off the street. Doe had not really expected to be where he was. He feared that the forces were coming from all corners to attack him, and he wanted America to send him strong support. This is what they were doing to us. And I gotta go find that other piece. I gotta find the other piece. Where we need to send a message. We need to send a message because I want y'all to listen to this. I want y'all to listen to this. Where is it? Right here. It's a man by the name of his name was Michael Radu. I want y'all mark this. I need y'all to mark this. I need y'all to mark this. Please mark this, y'all. I want y'all to mark this. We're going to go back down to the bottom, but look at this. What does the title of this say? Michael Radu. This was written like in the early 2000s, but we got this on note. Michael Radu is a senior fellow and co-chair Center on Terrorism and Counterterrorism at the Foreign Policy and Research Institute in Philadelphia. I want you to look at the way he talks. He says, if the newly established African Union wants to be taken serious, it should prove that it is capable of doing something for and in Liberia rather than send its energies debating whether AU Parliament should be located in Cape Town or Tripoli. The British have temporarily stabilized Sierra Leone, which should remain stable as long as the paratroopers stay there and not 1 minute longer. The French are doing the same in Ivory Coast with similar short-term success. Whatever Paris and London's reasons for deciding to get into the swamps of their former colonies, their actions do not mean that Washington has to do the same in a place that was far from being a former American colony, was a caricature of America. The President Bush should make it clear that Liberia is not a place of national interest for the United States, and we have no moral or other obligation toward it, and that no commitment of American lives should be expected, only possibly some very temporary logistical and financial support for African or UN forces. As a good Texan would put it, the U.S. does not have a dog in the Liberian fight. And my response is, we don't have a dog in this fight with China either. And I'm going to be celebrating when China becomes a world superpower. So that's what you said. That's what he said. I'm about to put that back up so that people know we got this. We got this. We gonna put everybody on Jump Street in Liberia. When we gonna put historynewsnetwork.org. We gonna put everybody on Jump Street. We put everybody on Jump Street. Charles Taylor being part of the CIA. Oh, we ain't forgot about that either. Oh, we ain't forgetting that either. Oh, no. Oh, no, you not bashing Black Americans in Liberia. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. Look at this, y'all. Look at this, y'all. Look at that, y'all. Look at that, y'all. Look at that, y'all. Charles Taylor worked for CIA in Liberia. Y'all, it's getting real juicy up in here. He escaped a maximum security prison. This was in 2012. Charles Taylor was a CIA informant. I need y'all to write it down, make a note. I need y'all to make note of this. So next time somebody comes and disrespects you, they make it very clear you don't know what you're talking about. This man was a CIA informant in the 1980s. Let me put it in there for y'all to see. Okay. U.S. authorities say former Liberian leader Charles Taylor worked for its intelligence agencies, including the CIA, the Boston Globe reports. So the U.S. was responsible, has blood on its hands. That's blood on everything Black American. The CIA at the time, this is back in 2009, rumors of CIA ties were fueled in July 2009 when Mr. Taylor himself told it at his trial at the UN-backed Special Court for Sierra Leone in The Hague. The U.S. agents helped him escape from a maximum security prison in Boston in 1985. And it says, but now the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Pentagon spy arm, has disclosed that its agents and those of the CIA did later use Mr. Taylor as an informant, the Globe reports. I need y'all. I need say it ain't so, y'all. Say it ain't so. Like I said, I'm not here to play. Hey, you getting real information, not no fake information. Not this, oh, this vague propaganda. Like they talk about the American Liberians enslaved this and did all of this mess and did all this drama. Oh, the fact that Samuel Doe was a U.S. ally, by the way, who wasn't supposed to run in the 1985 election, but he did anyway. That almost led to a coup. Taylor walked out of Framingham State Prison and escorted by CIA. Also, he went to the dictator school at a Georgia Army base. This, y'all, was what the U.S. was doing. To say the U.S. doesn't have blood on its hands is being generous. I just have to say that, y'all. I'm gonna go a little bit further into these topics because ain't nobody been saying it but we. But we are going to make it clear to everybody that the U.S. is just as responsible, more responsible than any other country. Don't let these guys fool you. Okay? Don't let them fool you. Do not let somebody, if somebody comes and says Liberia is a failure, show them this video. If somebody comes and tells you that Liberia was Black Americans' fault, show them this video. I'll give them the information. I'll give them the PDFs. I ain't got nothing to hide. Show them this video. Next time somebody says the tensions between America and Liberians was the primary cause of the Civil War, show them this video. Show them this video. Because they don't know anything what they're talking about. They know nothing. We're going to continue. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Let me share my screen some more because we ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. We still got plenty. We got plenty more, y'all. Let's continue on. The PRC established a special military tribunal that charged 13 key government officials from the Tolbert administration with high treason, corruption, and misuse of public office and sentenced them to death. We all saw the video of what happened to them. Disgusting, disturbing, and all that. By the way, karma came back and got him. I can't show you the Samuel Doe video when Prince Johnson and his crew killed Samuel Doe in 1990. But that's just in my opinion. I know there are people who have different views of Samuel Doe. But that's just desserts. You killed 13 members. You had an 8th grade education. You cozied up to the U.S. and then the U.S. discarded you when you were of no use. You destroyed the Liberian economy. Matter of fact, let me show this video to y'all. Let me show y'all this video. I need y'all to see this prior to the coup. I'm bringing receipts. Like I said, I'm not here to play. Let me show y'all this video. There was a video I was watching. This video. All right, let me share my screen. Now, look at where Liberia is ranked. I'm stopping right there. Look at where Liberia is ranked ahead of. Let me see. Let me remove this. Let me show you where. Look at where Liberia is ranked. Right. So, if you look at this, Liberia is just underneath Egypt and Kenya. We're ahead of Sierra Leone. We're ahead of Guinea. We're ahead of Chad. We're ahead of Botswana. We're ahead of Tanzania. We're ahead of Rwanda. We're ahead of Mali. We're ahead of all of these countries. Look at this. Let's keep going. We passed Egypt. So now we're past Egypt. Let's keep going. We surpassed Kenya. So you see, after Samuel Doe takes into power, Liberia's economy starts tanking. Okay, we see right there that the Liberian economy starts to tank. Right there. He says, Jabari, how do African Americans separate themselves from the shenanigans of the U.S. government? Some people think that African Americans are pawns of the U.S. government, and thus a group who is not to be trusted. I think this is where nationhood comes in. When you claim that you're not a nation, then you're pawns of the U.S. government. Like, people say, well, Black Americans have nothing against Iran. Well, you are an American citizen. You live under the American government. You have to take the good and the bad. You're not your own separate country. You cannot get mad at people for saying, well, Black Americans are pawns of the U.S. government because you want to integrate in the U.S. government. You want to be militant integrationist. And so therefore, you have to take everything that comes with it. If you don't like it, nationalism and nationhood is the only way. But you have to, African Americans have to start identifying themselves as a nation of their own. That's how we stop those shenanigans. I'm Liberian. I have nothing to do with what the U.S. government got going on. I have nothing to do with that. But I'm about to show the video in 1990 at the end of Samuel Doe's reign. Okay. By 1992, I want y'all to look at this one more time, and I'm about to show this. I just want to show a brief of that. But look at this. This is heartbreaking. So we went from having a GDP per capita higher than most African countries to, in 1992. Hold on. Let me get rid of this. Look at where we are in 1992. In 1992, we're poorer than almost Somalia, and we will become poorer than Somalia in 1992. We went from being one of the richest countries in Africa, could have been the Botswana of Africa. We could have been even further than that. And now we have to start all over. 250,000 people at minimum dead. Some people say it's as much as 620,000. Refugees off the charts. Refugees in Sierra Leone, refugees in Ghana, refugees in Nigeria. This shouldn't have happened. The coup should not have happened. And it hurts. It hurts so bad. This is why that's why last week we did a Controlling the Narrative video. And let's talk about this Vice piece, because Vice want to do a hit piece. Look at what Vice does. Y'all see this? Y'all see what Vice does? Look at what Vice does. 16, 24 million. Look at what they say right here. Cannibalism, murder, and rape are just part of everyday life in certain regions of Liberia. $40 million people have watched those two videos. Well, I think, well, technically, since we live in America, it's kind of hard because it's really hard, Baruti, because even though the Arapo, they live on reservations. So Catawbas, they have reservations. So they could say they're a nation because they live in reservations. We don't have any of that. So, you know, we can identify ourselves as an oppressed nation, as a stateless nation. I think that would be the best thing. But we have to first claim that. Okay. We have to claim that first. That we are a stateless nation, that we are an oppressed nation. And that's been going on for centuries. But I think that that's how we can really, and also claim Liberia as our nation state. Fly Guy, Jabari, what measures should we take to prevent something like the coup from happening in Liberia again? So there are a couple things. One is make sure that citizens are happy. Make sure that you provide people access to their basic needs. People need to know that their needs are being met. So access to clean water, access to education, access to college, access to college, access to healthcare. People can live a stable life. They can, do worker co-ops, representative democracy. Make sure that they're part of the country, and also make sure that we establish a culture of the rule of law. Make sure that people respect the law. People respect the judicial system. Make sure we have a lot of lawyers, professors, people that respect the government. Make sure that our system is working, that we have representation so that people feel inclusive and people will not consider. There also needs to be a strong military, a military that adheres to the Constitution, that adheres to the society, that their goal is to the government and to the nation, not to a particular political party, a particular, ethnic group, a particular, region. We need to make it clear that that is cemented in people's brains so that a coup never happens. And if they do attempt it, there needs to be swift punishment and penalties so that people know this is the consequences that you will get if you attempt to do this. And I also agree with Ikundayu that public education goes a long way. Yes, civic education. Making sure infrastructure is in place. Make sure that we have generals, like I said, people who adhere to the rule of law, our nation, our goals. That's what's important. Make sure all of that's there. And also make sure that you are aware of foreign intervention. Be aware that there are governments that are trying to tap wire you. Make sure that you know what you're dealing with. Make sure all of this. Holla, if I have something even better, you said, should we have a nation state? I would say it's something better. You can say, one, should we have a nation state? But also, do you recognize Liberia as being the nation state? Nationhood is not achieved via osmosis. Nationhood is intentional. Amen. Facts. Facts. So let's ask the question. Do you see, one, do you want a nation state? And two, do you see Liberia as the nation state for African Americans? That's the question we need to know. We need to know. Because It's a shame that our ancestors died, put their blood on the line. They were, photographers or daguerreotypists. They were presidents. They were vice presidents. They were doctors. They were engineers. They were psychiatrists. They were all of this. And to see their project Liberia go down the drain irks me. It irks me so bad. It hurts so bad. Let me show you this. If I can, let me show this. Exodusters. I need y'all to look at this. Exodusters 98,000. Okay. This is I don't like using Wikipedia, so I'm not gonna use Wikipedia. This was what it was. Let me see if I can find the number. But it was 98,000 African Americans who wanted to go to Liberia. And do you believe in fulfilling your ancestors' dream? Yes or no? Do you believe it? Do you believe in fulfilling your ancestors' dreams? Okay, I got it right here. Let me show it to y'all. Let me show y'all this. I think I need people to understand the gravity of what we're talking about here. Right here. I need people to understand the gravity of it. Do you see something that is highlighted in blue? The thing highlighted in blue says, Adams' organization succeeded in getting over 98,000 African American names of blacks who were interested in immigrating from the South. Most of them were from Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas, with a minority from Mississippi and Alabama and a few other states. Now, that I want to make sure that y'all can see that. Okay. Now, I want y'all to look at the sentence above. I'm about to highlight that as well. Okay. Listen to this statement. I'm about to form every piece of this. And I think I might need to zoom in on this. I think I might need to zoom in on this because I don't think people understand what we're talking about here. Listen to what they say. This whole piece. I want y'all to listen to everything that I'm about to utter. That's highlighted. Okay. They formed a new organization called the Colonization Council and decided that they would first appeal to President Rutherford B. Hayes in Congress to help them out of their distress and protect the civil rights and constitutional privileges. If that failed, Adams recommended that they ask the federal government to set apart a territory in the United States for them, somewhere where they could go and live with their families. If the government failed or refused to do that, their final idea was to ask for an appropriation of money to ship us all to Liberia and Africa, somewhere where we could live in peace. Adams presented the Senate committee a copy of the letter to the president with all three of the resolutions concluded. Hey, let's continue on because I don't think people understand the gravity of this. And speaking of which, let me show y'all this. Black immigration movement convention. I need y'all to see it. I think right here. The National Immigration Convention of Colored People. That's what that is. The National Immigration Convention of Colored People. And you know why I brought that up? National Immigration Convention of Colored people Henry McNeil Turner. It's coloredconventions.org. All aboard. That's literally what it says. All aboard. Okay? And it's not just there. Let's go back to coloredconventions.org. There is something right here. I think people don't understand when he was talking about immigration. I don't think people understand when he was talking about, you know, those are who were for nationhood.
Hey, Derek, get off the phone and get on your head. Get this bathroom cleaned up.
Hold on. Hold on, give me a minute. All right, I'm here. I just put myself on mute for a second. I'm still here. Yeah, this was the event. This was Henry McNeil Turner. But I want y'all to look at this. The National Immigration for Colored People, Black women. Right? And I don't think people understand about this, right? You can get this too. It's the National Immigration for Colored People. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. It was on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the 24th, 25th, and 26th of August, 1854. Right? But one of the things, I have a picture of it, right? And I'm trying to find it. Hold on. I'm trying to find it because this is so important. Whoopsie. And let me get to there. I'm trying, y'all, to just give me a moment because I have something. They talked about women's signatures because Hollop talks about, um, who's for nationhood and who's against nationhood. I'll try to find it. But yeah. I'm totally on board with Liberia being our nation state. And correction, is Liberia our nation state? You are 100% right. Yeah, that's simply what it is. You know what? I think I have it saved up here in the Back to Africa movement. Women immigrant. Right here. Yes. Right here. I have it. I have it right here. Okay. I have it right here. I'm about to just put this separate for a second. Hollop. Remember what you said about let me put this. Remember what you said about who's for against nationhood? Let me share my screen again. Window, this. And I'm about to just let it be the entire thing. Look at what it says. To stay or to go, the National Immigration Convention of the Women of 1854 women delegates. What does it read? It reads the following. The following comprise of executive delegates and masters not being taken for 4. Okay, and it says, as highlighted text in the first image shows, a great number of women were present at the 1854 Immigration Convention. Although their specific roles are difficult to determine, the convention minutes nevertheless indicates that women delegates and other women present had a voice of their own. These were all the delegates, y'all. All the delegates. Putting their name. Look who on that list. Martin Delaney was on that list. Think about that. Martin Delaney, Samuel Neal, John Williams, William Webb, all of these were on there. And these women signed on saying, yeah, we for nation of it. Yeah, yeah. We with you, Delaney. We with you. So that's what I need to know in the chat. That's all we need to know. Do you claim the land that your ancestors established? Do you claim the land that your ancestors were willing to die to go to? Do you believe in the 98,000 who signed those immigration papers to Liberia to establish those conventions? Do you believe that Liberia is your nation state? Because your ancestors didn't go through the highest mortality rate for nothing. Your ancestors didn't sign those papers for no reason. Your man Henry Bonds did not reach out to the ACS for nothing. The ACS, Marcus Garvey didn't reach out to Liberia for nothing. Maya Angelou didn't reach out to Liberia for nothing. Nina Simone didn't reach out to Liberia for nothing. They understood the importance. And the yeses that I'm seeing indicates we're on the right track. I know this live went over an hour. I wasn't expecting it to be that way, but I had to give out all this information. I was not about to let this go under the rug. And to go on, I want y'all to see, I'm about to leave y'all with two things because imagine this. I want y'all to listen to this. I want y'all to see this. His name was Henry Bonds. That's his name. I'm trying to find him, Henry Bonds. He was a teacher. There it is. I got it. So let me share my screen. Right here. These are ASCE personal stories. These are all the immigration things that you need to see. Immigration from Arkansas. Right here. It says, in the summer of 1919, Henry Bonds, still in the U.S. and having moved to Tallahassee, Oklahoma, wrote the society once again about going to Liberia. He pointed out that World War I had stopped him, but that he wanted to go and wanted to know if the aid promised. Okay. Let me put this in so people know what we're talking about. Copy. Okay. He was a teacher, by the way. Just so that people know. His family, I think he was a doctor and his wife was a teacher, was a nurse or something like that. I do know that he was important. That's what we're talking about. I just want y'all to understand that you have somewhere to go to. He said, I detest I detest. He said, I detest the word BA and I'm mildly tolerable of AA. I want a Bantu Africa term for Blacks. There doesn't have to be our nation state. I'm fine with parts of the other group moving to varying Africa parts. That's not the question that we were. Okay, well, you said it doesn't have to be our nation state. I'm fine with parts of the group moving to varying African parts. You need a nation. At the end of the day, I mean, I understand some people are going to be for and against it. But for us who are for nationhood, it's simple. You can talk about being called something, but the question is, where is home? Where is home? Botswanans have Botswana. Bapedi have South Africa. Basutus have Lesotho. Swazis have Eswatini. Kikuyus have Kenya. Bugandans have Uganda. Somalis have Somalia. Tigrays have northern Ethiopia. Amaras have their homelands. Where is your homeland? And there's only one country that has your history in it, and that is Liberia. And so with that, y'all, I just wanted to talk about the 1980 coup, its effects, and how it's destroyed the image of the country. I'm proud of Liberia. Don't let nobody shame you. Don't let nobody disrespect you about Liberia. Wave that flag. Be proud about it. Be unapologetic about it. Do not let them use this African and African American division. Do not allow them to use Liberia as some sort of way to say that Black Americans are colonizers when we are Africans in of our own. Do not allow them to disrespect you. Do not allow them to get away with that, because they certainly will try to get away with that. We here at the BAIO are proud of Liberia. We claim it unapologetically. We have no shame. We recognize our mistakes. We love our country. We will continue to love it. We will continue to connect with it, and we will build it for the future. So, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you sign up to the website at blafricstan.org. Make sure that you sign up to the lounge, and the lounge we will be having general discussions. We'll be having open discussions. So make sure that you're signed up to the website, and we will eventually admit you into the lounge. We're going to be having a lot of good topics tonight. We're going to have a lot of great topics tonight. Especially considering what today is, we'll be giving our thoughts about that as well. But yeah, make sure to keep sharing this. Our channel is growing. I'm going to be trying to reach out to some more Liberians to see, what more partnerships that we can do. But yeah, that's what we're doing here. Like I said, we're doing a trip next year to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the founding of Monrovia, and also Lib Year of the Diaspora. So we are doing that as well. Thank you guys so much for being in this live. I felt this was necessary. One of the BL members asked me, and I felt the need to answer it because it hasn't been gone too in depth with this much. Home is where you may move to or where you feel attached. Various ethnicities in Africa live in various countries. Swana live in South Africa, Botswana, although they border each other. So that's genuinely one area. But yeah. All right, fam. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Peace.